Everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to come to you with a video discussing a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is, troubled young men and some things that we can be doing to sort of help them out, to get them pointed in the right direction. Be right back with you. So welcome back, everybody. We have, we in this past, this current generation, and probably every generation, I'm sure the generations before have noted that there seems to be a problem with young men. Okay, and I think this has been declining for a long time. I remember, my grandfathers, my father, growing up, my uncles, and just men around me who were very responsible, hardworking men, didn't take any kind of crap from anybody, and just really, outspoken even, but didn't put up with anything either. And it seemed that I'm not going to say. By the way, this video we're not going to talk about women at all, and the reason why is because this is about young men and the responsibility that we as men ourselves and fathers and uncles and scout leaders and coaches and educators, have, and for the past years, there's been a decline in young men taking on responsibility, being men, growing up to become men. And, I've got a bit of experience with this because I've worked with the scouting movement for many, many years. I've mentored young men, coached young men. Even when I was in the Army and I was still a young man myself, as you get older in the Army, more experience, you have younger men coming in. And, and then today, we're at work seeing the quality of some of the young men, not all of them, but there's a good, high percentage of young men coming through that just, they just don't have, they're missing something. Okay. And so, I will talk to you about why we should be mentoring and coaching young men. And then also, we have a responsibility as fathers, and like I said, as coaches and husbands and scout leaders and uncles and grandfathers, this kind of stuff, and I made myself a little list of stuff here, and we'll talk about why, we look at young men today. Okay. Coming into the workforce, you have a lot of young men who are expecting, first of all, they've been belittled since they were young. They don't have, they're missing something. Quite often, a lot of them are missing father figures. They're missing that someone to coach and mentor them, to help them out, to just educate them, and this is starting off from the very beginning because there's been a breakdown in the family, and fathers not taking on the responsibility of raising their sons. And this is a very sad thing, and we've seen it across the board, and it's been declining for a very, very long time in all cultures. We're not going to talk about race here because we're one race, we're the human race, but culturally, we're a lot of different cultures, okay, and a lot of different communities, this kind of stuff. But we have a responsibility to these young men in a generation, okay? And when you look at them today, and there's lots of examples, like I said, they come into the workplace, they don't have a good work method, they're late, they're not interested, they're not willing to learn, they don't like having to work, they don't like having to sweat and put in the effort, and like I said, it's not all of them, it's a lot of them, and some of the problems that they lack focus, lack leadership, their fitness, they're quite lazy, and plus there's also drugs involved in that too. And so we're going to talk about, like I said, we're talking about parents. Every boy needs a father. Every boy needs a father in his life. And I understand there are situations where, and mothers, they're struggling. They're doing what they can. And there's no doubt about that. I'm not putting anything against mothers here. But it doesn't stop the fact that young boys need a father figure or a father in their life, whether it be a grandfather, an uncle, a close family friend, scout leader, somebody's going to protect them, but at the same time is going to teach them and let them, make those mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. We learn from them, and that's what's important. Okay. But and the education system, is also failing. this whole mixing of things in bathrooms, this kind of like that, and you see these boys coming out more feminine and more, these trans kids, this kind of stuff. Look, I'm not gonna get too far and deep into that, but there's a problem there, and when I was growing up, we didn't see so much of that, but what we did see is fashion, okay? And so the local fashion, whatever was the fashion, the taste of the month, that's sort of like what young kids sort of latch onto. And that's sort of what's been happening for a long time, okay? How boys have been treated socially. They're being treated like they don't have a right to be boys. They don't have the right to play rough. They don't have the right to play with, to learn to shoot and to learn to hunt and to learn to drive and fish. They don't have the right to learn, the schools have gotten rid of a lot of programs like mechanics and this kind of stuff, and wood classes and this kind of stuff for both girls and boys, But, when I was in school, I took agriculture in school, and I studied everything across the border from welding to wood shop, the whole works, and I even took other courses too. But I mean, I learned everything in that. I learned a lot of things that, and we were growing up in the country on a farm, so this stuff was already being passed down to me. I had a very serious father, a very intensive man he was, but it just what was drawn from that generation, that Vietnam generation. All those men were quite intense, who had come back from there or who had fought in the war. Now listen, I'm not coming to you from a guy who's come from the city. I'm coming to you from a guy who's come from the country, okay? And I can only tell you my experience in that, But there's a role for a father in all this, and society has been fighting that role for a long time now, and it's been degrading, as if there's no need for fathers, there's no need for men, and we're seeing this across the board. And now the results are there's a lot of failures going across there. So, this is some of the things, and I'm sure there are other things out there, that we can talk about, and we look at some of the problems across the board. Young men are looking up to sports and athletes and Hollywood and stars and musicians and kind of stuff. These people are not heroes to anybody, okay? They should definitely not be your hero. Your hero are the men around you, okay? You need to look up to them. And if there are no men around you, then go into scouting, go into sports at school. Find something you can find a mentor who can guide you, okay? And someone who's willing to mentor you in a good direction, a positive direction, okay? And when you get to that certain age, and you think you need some more of that, okay, get into the military, in some form of the military. Maybe it's even into the reserves, just like that, while you're going to college, or even if you have to go to college. But get yourself a skill, it pays well. It might be a little bit more labor intense, hard work, but you know what? At the end of the day, you have a good salary coming in, and you'll be able to support your family, okay? The plan, how I look at this is as a young man, and I remember I was preparing to leave home. I could not wait to leave home. It was just exhaustive living there. It was tough. It was hard. I mean, I love my parents, and I love my siblings, but and I was ready to go, and I'd always planned to be a soldier and to get out, and go in the military. But I think that as an individual right now, if you're a young guy, 10, 11, 12, whatever, you need to, and this goes across the board to everybody, but especially that age, you need to master yourself first. Stand up, draw a circle around you, and everything in that circle you need to master first. And this goes from your education, fitness, your hygiene, the space you live in. Make sure that your room is clean and your stuff is organized. Okay, your education. Okay, and have a vision for the future. Find something that you want to do, and find out what it takes to get to that. The goals that you need to meet to get to that vision. And do your daily chores. Okay, work around the house. Be humble. Respect others and respect yourself. Okay, do things without the need for celebration. Okay, if you see something needs to be done, you do it. You don't tell anybody you did it. You just do it and move on with life. Okay, if you where I was living at here recently, my neighbors, they're quite an older couple. They would leave their garbage out for the next day, because next day you had to get really early to put the garbage bags out, and you weren't supposed to do it the night before. What I would do is, when I took my garbage out, I grabbed their garbage bag and I put it out for them. I did this for a long, long time, and they never knew that I was doing it. Okay. And I did it not because I wanted a pat on the back. I did it because it needed to be done. Okay. You see dirty dishes and you just finished eating, you clean up after yourself, this kind of stuff, wash your own clothes, learn these things, learn to wash, learn to sew, learn to clean. Okay. Learn these things yourself, seek responsibility. Okay. And do it because it needs to be done. Move on with your life. Okay. Don't just, like I said, don't be waiting for someone to pat you on the back and celebrate what you've done. Okay. Let's talk about these fitness. Okay. You need to get into fitness because you need to strengthen your body and you need to eat right. Okay. A lot of young men are overweight. They can't run. They can't run a kilometer. They can't run 100 meters. You need to find something that you can do outside of video games. This kind of. As a matter of fact, that's it's okay to play video games, but not 24/7. Okay. And but what you need to do is you need to master yourself and get out there and get in shape, get in form, find this hobby that can help you. A lot of times sports, and this kind of helps release a lot of tension, a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative things. You get out there, you can concentrate on pushing yourself, and it's really nice. Okay, hygiene. A lot of young men do not know how to clean their own backsides. I've had clients, young men, come in the shop trying on other clothes and smell so awful, And I don't know what it is with 12-year-olds that don't like to take a bath, but or clean their feet. But you got to get out there and you got to do these things, okay? You got to take care of yourself, your body. Take care of your teeth, and when you get to a certain age, as a father, you need to get there and show your son. I remember teaching my son how to shave, when he was 15, and he wanted to learn how to shave, so I taught him how to shave, okay? And I bought him a good shaving kit, That's something else I look at also when it comes to this hygiene stuff, is that as a father or as a role model, I get involved and I get the boy what he needs so he can take care of himself, okay? If you, just for the hygiene point, when you join the British Army, and I've seen this in British, the commando videos that they had out, day one, they show them how to make their bed, they show them how to wear a uniform, they show them how to take a bath and clean their ass. And actually the instructor gets in a shower right in front of all these young men, these Joes or these young recruits, and they watch him wash himself, okay? So they can get past this whole stigma of not taking your clothes off around other people, Get used to it, okay? Don't make a big deal out of it. Move on with life, okay? And keeping your space clean and organized. My father was a retired military guy, and I remember one time, I was very busy in school, sports, this kind of stuff, but still, I didn't make my bed up or something. I don't remember what it was. And boy, he was outraged. And I came home, and my room was not in my room. Everything was out in the garden. I'm not saying that as a man, you need to do that extreme. But what you need to do is show them how to do it. Teach them, mentor them, show them how to clean their room and show them how to clean it correctly. And you put them in a good direction. But as a young man, you need to learn these skills and be aware and try to maintain your space and keep it clean, okay? Very important, okay? And your education, going back to that, do all you can to learn. Read, and more reading, okay? Read all you can for everything you can. You'll be surprised all the things that you'll pick up from that. I studied history at university, and I studied history my entire life. I read everything about World War II, about Vietnam, about the Civil War, about the war in Europe. I mean, I read all these kind of history books about this kind of stuff, and I still enjoy watching them, either documentaries or reading books about them. But get an education, and learn all you can, become good at what you can, okay? Have a vision for the future. It's something that, you as you grow older, you'll develop an idea of something you want to become, something you want to do later on in life, okay? But once you've fixed on that, you figured it out, then you got to figure out what it takes to get there. When I was young, I wanted to go into the military, okay? I knew I had to be physically fit. I knew I had to be mentally fit for what I wanted to do. And I knew I needed to get out and do a lot of fieldcraft stuff already. So I did a lot of camping, a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, this kind of stuff. I was doing it already because I live in the outdoors. But I was getting used to all that. I was getting used to the heavy load of doing runs and rucksack marches, this kind of stuff, getting my body used to it. Okay, because I knew that when I got into basic training, I was going to be, and I went at 17 years old. I was still a boy, I went in Did those 2 months, the heat of summer, in where I went to basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and then it was hot. It was super hot that summer. But you know what? I got through it. I made it. Got back home, and it was my first time away from home. But I had a great time in the end. I mean, I'm glad it was over with. But you know what? I'd probably do it again tomorrow. And like I said, get back to your daily chores. When I say daily chores, I mean clean up after yourself. Learn to, put your clothes in a laundry basket in your room so you can wash them. Learn how to wash your clothes. Wash after yourself, their dishes, this kind of stuff. Help your mom cook or your dad cook. Or, help your family cook sometimes. Seek that responsibility to learn how to do it. When I was growing up, we had a wash night. We had to clean the kitchen, and man, it seemed to always turn. I was always Thursday night or Friday night. And it means I had to go out and play basketball. I was playing sports. I played the sports. I was basketball, whatever sports I was playing, and came home, and 10:30 at night, I was washing dishes, and they left it all there, There was no help. But you know what? I did it, and you had to do it well, because my mother made a big deal out of it if you didn't do it well, okay? So, but learn, daily chores, something else, we had to have a certain amount of wood on the porch. We had to, learn, we had to clean up after ourselves. We had to clean our rooms, we had to mow the lawn, all these kind of stuff, And if you're a father or a mentor or a coach, you need to get out there and make sure this kind of stuff's happening, and you involve them in it. You don't just say, hey, do it. You involve yourself, you involve them in it with you, And also other chores. If you're working on the car, doing an oil change, get the kids up under there with you, get them involved, show them how to do it until they're doing it themselves, okay? And so all this kind of stuff is going to continue, is going to help them. Okay, get them involved in cleaning the garage. Make it a family event, cleaning the garage out, spring cleaning, mowing the lawn, trimming the hedges, this kind of stuff. Looking for firewood, make it a family thing. We did that, And plus on the farm, we had, we'd help the whole family. We'd come together to go, to cut hay every year, and to bale hay, and to stack the hay in the barns. We did this every year, the huge family event. But we celebrated together afterwards also as a family. And like I said, go back to being humble, okay? When I say be humble, I mean, be humble. Be able to take a butt chewing, learn something from it, move on with life. You're going to make mistakes in this world. Accept it, okay? But try to learn from your mistakes, okay? Don't make yourself into something you're not, because you're just you, okay? And be glad with whom you are, with the person you are. Don't try to make changes when it comes to physically changes, like changing your nose and all this kind of stuff, having whatever, You're born a boy, be a boy, live your life as a boy. No matter what other things pull you around out of that, try to grow up to be a man. And I'm not talking about sexuality here, okay? Look, I'm a straight man. I have a gay son, okay? I support and love him and my son-in-law with all my heart, okay? There's nothing going to change that, okay? They're my sons. And I'm also a Christian, and I have a strong belief. But you know what? I don't know how to answer all that. I just know how I have to feel in my own heart, and this kind of stuff. I'm also someone who's divorced, okay? And for dubious reasons, not from my own side necessarily, but from her side, okay? And I had to get over that. It took me a long time. I had to learn to eat a lot of humble pie, okay, off this. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't fight, argue, call back. I never talked bad about her in front of my kids or anybody else. I still talk good about her because she's a very smart woman, okay? She's a very smart human and has a high degree of intelligence. People make mistakes. People do things. And the problem is when you make a mistake and you're not humble, this mistake becomes even worse. And that's what happens in a lot of these situations, okay? Learn to just get out there and learn a sport like fighting, but don't use fighting if you don't have to, Try to walk away. Learn to walk away. Learn to walk away from an argument, that's unnecessary. Learn to have some humility about you, and learn to just, say, listen, okay, you're right. I'm wrong. Okay. I don't want to fight you. I do apologize. Sorry about that, and move out. But also try to keep yourself from getting in these positions, okay? Stay out of bars and places where a lot of fighting happens. Go out and have fun with your friends, but avoid these places where, it's like if you don't want to get beat up in town, avoid town, okay? And believe me, you're good as with a group, but pretty much. But if you meet a group, that becomes could become ugly, very quickly, So my son's always telling me stay off the train after 19:30 at night or a certain time because of there's always nothing good that happens on the train, and this is so true, after a certain time of night. But have some humility. Another quick story. About humility. When I was in the Army, we get all this super great training. We get to our first unit, and the first thing they do is they hand you, you're like an apprentice. You're suddenly kind of doing all the crap work, and it's not fun, but you're learning something, and you have to start from the beginning. Okay, I'm not someone who agrees with hazing, this kind of stuff. I don't think it's necessary, and it's going to happen. It does happen less and less now, but be more accepting. Because people have met the standard to get there, try to mentor them and teach them, and you want to see them succeed. Their success is also your success, okay? I see this every day from the boys that I mentored and I worked with in scouting, okay? They're all finishing university now. A lot of them are, or they're already married. They're moving on with life. They're getting their doctorates, this kind of stuff. They're doing things for themselves. I'm so proud of all of them when I see them. Today is really interesting because I got a message from one of them on LinkedIn. A young man whom was one of my scouts. And this happens all the time, including my son, by the way, who was an Eagle Scout, who is an Eagle Scout. There's a lot to be learned there. But be humble, okay, and respect others, including yourself. You can't expect someone else to love you if you don't love yourself, or like you if you don't like yourself, okay. So this falls into all that, But also respect. You respect yourself, other people are going to respect you too. But you also respect others, Offer that respect first. I grew up, it was yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. You don't hear that anymore around here, And where I live, you don't hear it whatsoever, But of course we say. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, or just to people when we see them, we offer that. I offered it to everybody, and it comes to me, and it always feels a little bit odd because I'm not used to hearing it, But you know what? I always fall back to that category of I was a non-commissioned officer, I'm not a sir, Or I say my dad was Mr. Box, So it's always strikes me a bit odd to be called Mr. Box, But as it is what it is, okay. And like I said, get back in there, do things without the need for congratulations or all this kind of stuff. One thing I used to hate in the military, I hated all the show for getting an award, okay, or hated all the show for getting promoted, this kind of stuff. Now they do this to promote others, to show others that that your peers are getting promoted. Okay, your peers are having success, and this is how they've done it. So there's a reason behind it. And scouting is the same way. I've got lots of scouting awards, lots of things I've done in scouting. But you know what? Just wearing the uniform and being there for the boys for me is good enough. Is good enough. But I do like to see the boys seek these things and try to earn awards, this kind of stuff. Become Eagle Scouts. In the Army, it's the same thing. You want to see your peers. You want to see the people that you're mentoring to elevate themselves, to become, their goal. I used to tell my soldiers, your goal is to take my job. My goal is to take my boss's job. And that's how it goes. And that's how it rolls, okay? And you're succeeding if you help the ones under you to achieve these goals, okay? And so this is also important for those men out there who are mentoring young men and those young men out there who are being mentored, okay? And back to again, do it because it needs to be done. Okay, so there are a lot of things out there we need to learn. Okay, this is going to sum up the video. It's going to be a little bit long video, but I do apologize for that. But there are a lot of things that young men need to learn. They need to learn leadership. Okay, and you lead by example as an adult. Okay, they're going to pick up from you, and they're going to pick up these things. Okay, but you give them responsibility and see how. Let them fail. Okay, but it's okay to fail. You have to reassure them, and you have to say, "Listen, okay, let's talk about." You have a little after action review over targets or things that they even it's like, okay, listen, we're gonna stack wood, and let's say, and you show them how to stack it. Okay, you use what we call the edge method. You explain, you demonstrate, you guide, you enable. Enabling means they can teach you back, and then get out there. And if you already start off with that, you're already creating a situation where there's going to be a win. Okay, less likely a failure. Okay, but you beef this up as life goes on. Okay, listen, hey, we're going to mow the lawn. But if there's mistakes been made, there's things that not been trimmed, you go back together and you work through that and you talk about that and you help them to improve on that. The same with cleaning their room, same with, cutting their fingernails and toenails and combing their hair, getting a haircut, shaving, you're gonna nick yourself, miss places. You're gonna learn very quickly. Okay, so it's important to leadership. Okay, and put them in. You got to put them in leadership. You got to give them responsibility. Okay, and let them fail, but work them through that. Camping and outdoor skills, so important. Young men need to learn them. They need to learn those camping and outdoor skills. Get out at least once a month. The scouting, if you have a good scouting troop, find one that's really an outdoor troop that spends more time outdoors than indoors, and get those boys out there, and they'll learn those skills. And if you don't have that, get out there with them at least once a month, especially if it's a family thing. It's even better. You can get the whole family involved. Get you some, you don't need any expensive kit. You don't need to, you just need to get there some tents. Get out there, go to a surplus store, get what you need, get out there, do a hike, start off maybe with some car trips, to a local friendly area to camp in, and make it grow from there towards more savage, and then once they have skills that picked up, so this is when we're going to go out and do a survival weekend, we're going to go out there and we're going to build our shelter, and we're going to make fire, and we're going to fish, and we're going to catch some fish, we're going to eat it, and one thing, I used to have mothers come up to me in scouting. And it's crazy that we'd go scouting the weekend, and then we'd have a meeting coming up. I think it was on a Tuesday or something like that. And I had those mothers come to me and goes, "Oh man, it was thank you so much. It was a great outing. His backpack was never open. He was still in the same dirty clothes. He was filthy. He had a great time." I always thought that was funny, but it's true. Okay, it's true. We don't need all this stuff anyway, but those young men need to get out there and get dirty and have fun, and they may cut themselves, they may burn themselves, but you teach that, you train all that, and you try to alleviate that as much as possible, but you work with them. Okay, learn to shoot. Get out there, bring your son, bring your nephew, bring your grandson, or your friend. Get them out there and teach them how to shoot, how to be safe around a weapon, and have that confidence around a weapon. Okay, it's a very important skill, and they can pick up a good. And you can use a sport. They can learn to hunt also. I've been hunting since I was a very little boy. I used to love it. My Uncle Neil, my dad's brother, he used to come steal me away from my parents, my mom especially. She used to really anger her and take me off driving, this kind of stuff. But when we got to hunting season, he'd bring me out in the woods, set me by a tree, and he would disappear and go hunting and leave me by the tree, So it was, I started off doing it that way. But get out there and learn to shoot, That's a very good skill, okay? Learn to drive. My daughter has her driver license. My son does not have his driver license. I taught both of them how to drive, okay? And then they went on and did the courses through the system. Now, they need to learn how to drive a manual and an automatic transmission car or truck or whatever, and then you get out there and learn to drive and gain that confidence. It's a confidence that they'll gain, okay? And that'll show off in other things also, that confidence of driving. My father was hell on wheels teaching us how to drive. He screamed until you got home. When I got into when I first went to go get my driver license, I was 15, 16 years old, and I took the test. It took me forever to pass the test because I refused to study, but I learned enough just to pass the test. And then for the day to go get my driver license, my dad it was a Saturday, and it was like 7:30, 8:30 in the morning. I said, "Dad, I need to go do my driver's test," and it's like 10 miles away, 16 kilometers away was from where we lived to Dry Prong, from Dry Prong where we lived to Colfax in Louisiana in Grant Parish. And my dad said, "Well, I don't have time today. Go ask your grandmother for her car." So I had never driven her car. I got up there, it was a 1972 Chevy Nova. It was brown, and it was transmission on the shift. It was 3 on the shift. It was 1, 2, 3, and then reverse on the shift. And on the wheel. The shifter was on the wheel. And so I drove in by myself. The guy got in the car with the policeman, the sheriff's guy who was responsible, got in the car with me. We did the driver's test. I arrived. They took my picture, they gave me my license, and I drove home. And the first thing my mother did was send me to town with a list of stuff, primarily feminine products, for me to go and find and buy at the local grocery store in town. So that was an experience, but learn to drive. Learn to build. Learn to make stuff. Learn to weld and cut and hammer and construct stuff and design things. Learn to make those things come true. Okay, I start off with my son with Legos, this kind of stuff, and he always had this design thing, and he still designs things all the time. But get out there and learn the mechanics. Get them in the garage. If your school doesn't have a program, you do it yourself at home, okay? Every time something needs to be done. Here we can't change your own oil in Switzerland. But what you could do is you go to there and bring them to where it has to be done and ask the guy, listen, I'm trying to teach my son how to do this. Can we watch at least, So get them involved. And then if you have projects on the house to build, paint, repair, whatever, get them involved and show them how to do it, okay? And get them involved. And like I said, learn to repair also. Learn not just build things, learn how to repair things. And learn to grow. That means learn to garden, learn animal husbandry, okay? Learn about nature, this kind of stuff. These are all some very, very important things. Okay, I'm sure I've missed a lot of things on this little list, but the key to all this is you as fathers, as uncles, as grandfathers, as coaches and mentors to get involved with the young men of today. They need you more than ever, okay? And if you have a Boy Scout troop, go out there and recruit young men to get involved in it. Young men, women also, they need this just as much as young men do, but, the job of a father is to teach his son all the skills that a father needs to learn, that a son needs to learn to become a man, okay? Another thing a father needs to teach their son is how to treat a woman and how a woman should be treated by a man, okay? Where a woman's job is to teach her son how a woman treats a man, okay? And so if you understand what I'm saying here. So these things are missing, okay? My kids, if they saw us argue, then they also saw us make up, okay? And we used to do a family huddle as a family on the makeup part, And even the dog would get in the middle of it. It was funny as can be. But it's so important that these are also very important skills to learn, okay? It's easy to have a hot head, but it's hard to have a cool head and teach that, okay? I have a neighbor. The last thing I'm going to tell you, I have a neighbor here. He and his partner, they both of them have kids, a little boy and a little girl, and I'm always just broken, watching them because I miss my kids who are now adults and now living their own lives at universities, kind of like that, and have their own lives going on. But just seeing him and how well he really puts in the effort to teach his kids, to be involved with his kids. I mean, every day he puts in the time being a father to not just his son, but also to his daughter. And I think it's one of the most fantastic things I've ever seen. I love seeing that. My dad was quite a busy guy, and he was very tired when he got home from work every day. And I can understand that, and we sort of didn't want to necessarily hang out with him as much as, but, there were times when we did, we wanted to go on hunting with him, and we wanted to do all these kind of things like this with him. If he told me, hey, come get in the car, we're going to go do this, I would go in a minute, but he just didn't involve us as much. And I missed out on a lot with him. But, I had uncles who would, I had grandfather who would. And so when my dad was out working his butt off, making the money for a big family, we were, and I got a lot of skills from him. I learned a lot from him because when I was growing up, carpentry, this kind of stuff, I got it from him. But it's important that we as fathers take that responsibility serious. As men, we take that responsibility serious. And listen, if you're a divorced father, you stay in the life of your kids as much as you can. Do whatever you can to be in their lives, okay? Don't allow someone else to raise your kids. But if you can't, and you have no choice, then you make sure you discuss with the person who's raising your kids, and so you can keep that contact going. Okay, if you're a father and you have to live somewhere else, or you're working for somewhere else, if his uncle is involved, like your wife's brother's involved, he's taking that responsibility to grandfather. Keep in contact with them also, and find out what they're doing. So, but just be involved as much as possible, and don't abandon your kids, please. Anyway, raising young men, there's a lot going on with it, from Jordan Peterson to across the board, and there's a lot of stuff to be learned there. And I like Jordan Peterson, and I like a lot of things I'm hearing from that camp. And I haven't read his book, but I've listened to him so many times. I'm sure it's all there, But please, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you have comments to make, I want to hear them. I want to read them. I want to have the chance to reply to them. teach me, help me, give me some advice also, my kids are grown up. You know what? I hope to be a grandfather someday. But I also take this responsibility serious. So when I've got young men working for me, I take that responsibility serious. Even young women, I try to teach them leadership and teach them these kind of skills, because I think it's very important, And so leave that comment. Please share with your friends and enemies, and let me know how you're doing. I hope you all have a good one. And I do apologize. This is a 35-minute video, a little bit longer. But keep me in your heart. And I'll keep you in mind. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. And I'll talk to you very soon. Goodbye.